Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Streakers Island Podcast. Wowzer, what a show! It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed analyst. We have Dan Moore needs more sun in his life, more for your money.
Woo! It's because of crazy light. Making me like a ghost.
And we have, Chazzy, the CEO, who's beside me, has way more lights than you do, Dan, and he's still got that crisp tan. He must. Chazzy, do you go to the tanning salon?
No, I don't. I was actually saying that the other day. No, I do not.
No, that's a spray on tan. Spray on tan in the can.
It's a new soap.
Every
new
show.
Face wash.
Let's get into what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, boys.
No, it's a shopping channel. Ooh, face wash.
We have Max Domi seems to be finding his way in Toronto.
Yay!
We're going to do our brand new segment in the show, 1v1 Crosby versus Ovechkin. Who has been the bigger impact? We're going to take a closer look at the NHL standings and where things are heading. We have some big NFL headlines, including the Bengals, who clearly only care about scoring 80 points a game, and the CFL Canadian movement. And, of course, we always have more than that because we like to pack so much into the show that it's like a sandwich that's just overflowing with all the ingredients. That's the show.
Oh, sounds good.
But let's get right into
the extra cheese and extra meat.
Dan loves his extra cheese. Let's get into Leafs talk. The Leafs.
Chazzy's favorite.
You would talk to me before the game against Calgary, I'd be a lot more grumpy right now. But the game against Calgary, I thought on Monday night, I thought they looked pretty good. The power play looked really strong. I still don't love the 5-forward look because it can burn you, but it is producing, so it's hard to argue it. And I will give myself the clown book.
Ooh.
And I will tell you guys why.
Why, Jacob? Why?
Max Domi, the last 3 games, has looked really solid. No matter what line he's been on, he's been effective. But I thought he was extra effective. Back on the third line with Domi and with McMahon and Robertson. The third line of McMahon, Domi, and Robertson is the line. You can't split this line up. It's too effective. That line ended up producing 3 out of the 6 goals tonight. Right? Like it doesn't need a lot of ice time to create magic. So if I'm Craig Berube, that's a line I'm leaving alone and I'm messing with the rest potentially, but I thought they looked better. Dan, you were watching the game with me in between your naps. How did you feel about that one?
I do need my beauty sleep, you know. I was going to say, we said Domi and Domi. It would be awesome if Ty Domi came back and played over the sun, but that's another day. But anyway, I thought Max Domi has played really well the past 3 games. And I think one reason why Max Domi has played so well is because, unfortunately, with the trade and salary cap and everything, Wino is out of the lineup now. So someone else has to fill in that identity crisis for relief. Someone, not that Max Domi can be a heavyweight, but someone has to fill in the shoes of heavy hitting every shift, communicating on the bench, getting the team going, having to fight when he has to have to fight. And Domi has done that in the past 3 games, justifying why he needs a spot in this lineup. And I find it very interesting. I put Domi on the third line with McMahon and Robertson after getting Scott Lawton as the third line center, which, to be honest, I think was a good move to make. Nothing against Scott Lawton. He's having a hard time fitting in. And, the line looked really good. The only negative part of it was that David Kemp was out of the lineup, but I think he's a special guy you got to keep in the lineup. So still almost juggling a come, I think, but we're on the right track.
It's very tough with David Kemp because he improves your penalty kill. He's a very strong penalty killer. But that fourth line, 5-on-5, is much more effective with Holmberg on it. I mean, Chazzy's probably like, why are we talking about the fourth line?
No, but Holmberg's on the second line now, right? So I'm saying...
No. You are mistaken. Holmberg jumps between the second and the fourth.
Okay, I'll put Yarncroke on the second pyramid and put Holmberg on the fourth pyramid.
You like Yarncroke on the fourth because he takes heavy minute killing penalties. He kills about 40 to 45 seconds out of that 2 minutes. So you don't want him playing big minutes on the second line and then being exhausted by the time he comes in for his penalty kill shift. And Chazzy, you've seen this a lot, I'm sure, in Montreal when you're trying to find your way with the lines. So how much juggling do you do after the Leafs just beat Calgary 6-2? Are you leaving these lines the way they are for at least maybe another game? Or are you continuing to juggle if there are some things you didn't like?
It seems to be in Toronto. It's the juggling match, and you guys are never set after one game. So I think you guys give it one game and then blow it right up. So you have to give it time, chemistry. Just like Morfor said, Lawton's trying to find his way. Where does he fit nicely? And as you guys juggle the lines, hopefully you guys stay with something consistent going into the playoffs and ride the momentum of those lines getting into the playoffs. Because if you're still juggling at this stage going into the playoffs, then you're not. You just don't have that momentum. So.
That is very true, but I do want to say, besides just Scott Lawton scoring on his own net on a weird bounce, I actually thought he had a pretty solid game. I thought that fourth line did what it needed to do. I thought the core four did enough, but I still want to see more of them down the stretch. I don't think the core four has been doing enough production of late. Matthews putting in 2 goals on Monday night was certainly nice to see. Nylander with a goal and 2 assists. I'm going to say this, though. I thought Marner and Tavares both looked kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And straight up, too, I thought Saturday against the Senators, Mitch Marner played probably his worst game he had played the entire season.
Yeah,
I don't understand with Craig Berube. He's supposed to be this tough nose to the grindstone kind of coach. And then, Marner, you had a terrible game, so we're going to put you back up on the first line.
Ooh.
Okay, it you could argue it worked, although all of Marner's points were on the power play, and so were Matthews' goals. Still 5-on-5. The core four didn't get a single 5-on-5 goal again tonight on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an issue, right? Everyone keeps saying we need more to Scott Lawton and Max Domi, and myself included on some of these guys. But no, I want more from Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares.
Why are they not scoring on the 5? Who are they zoning in on? They just zoning on the lanes, or
I don't know if it's just that they're trying to be too cute. I thought against Calgary, the team didn't seem to be playing a cute game, which I thought made a big difference. But I think a big part of it is teams are so focused on shutting down those lines, which is why I liked the look on Saturday. And truthfully, I would have liked to seen it get another look. I liked it with Nylander on a line, Matthews on a line, and Tavares on a line, all on separate lines. It's making it where a team just can't load up defensively to try to shut down 1 or 2 lines. All 3 lines you have to worry about, right? And the problem is for Toronto, they can't really take the time, and we'll get into the standings a bit later on in the show, but they can't really take the time to, figure this out and see if they can make that kind of system work, because straight up, they need to try to win the division. Their division is arguably the toughest division in the NHL. I say arguably because you could argue other ones, obviously. You can argue the Western Conference as well, right? With Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado in the same division. That's fact. But you look at Toronto, Tampa, and Florida. Florida's currently first with 85 points. Tampa and Toronto, respectively, with 83. And you really are trying to avoid playing in your own division in the first round, which is why for Toronto, I don't think they can wait around as much to try different line combinations. I think they went back with the lines they did against Calgary because they know it worked. And Dan, I know you want to see Kempf in and Holmberg out, but Holmberg gives you that flexibility of Järnkrok that those two can bounce up and down between the second and the fourth line, where Kempf doesn't give you that flexibility. I'm a big David Kempf fan. He's a big part of your penalty kill. But again, now so is Järnkrok, right? And Lawton is getting better on the penalty kill. So you're bringing in guys, and Matty Nyes has grown into a penalty killer as the year has gone on. So when you get penalty killing by committee, you don't need the specialists and David Kempf as much, kind of like as you have talked about, Dan, with the fighting. Because Ryan Reeves is out, they are being tough by committee between Max Domi and Simone Benoit and Brandon Carlo. And I don't know why Nick Robertson's shooting pucks after whistles to set the tone, but they're trying to set the tone without having Ryan Reeves in the lineup. And I think they're doing a pretty decent job at it.
Yeah. I think Nick Robinson shooting the puck after the whistle, I think that's like a safety thing. Like the goalie's not set. Like could hit someone skating by and not expecting it. I thought it was pretty dangerous.
Now, he claims he didn't hear the whistle. I mean,
I'm deaf and I heard it.
Dan, there's also like 80 microphones over the rink.
Yeah, true.
TV broadcast, what you hear in real life are two very different things, my friend. Trust me, I know this. But no, I do think the Leafs still need to get better, but I think this was a big building step, and we'll talk a bit more about the game versus the Avs later in the show, but that'll be a real tester. But let's move on and talk about the Senators and the Canadiens. And I can't believe I'm saying this, the two hottest teams in the NHL right now. So you have the Sens who have won 6 straight. Habs are 7-1-2 in their last 10. And I'm going to bring this right into the start of the Senators conversation. All right, I'm going to paint a picture for you guys. And Chazzy, I want you to answer this before Dan, because I already know Dan's going to think I'm crazy.
Jacob's an artist.
Okay, so we're looking at the Atlantic, and with the winning streak, Ottawa has now jumped up to 77 points, okay? Toronto has 83, and they're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They're limping. Ottawa has won 6 straight, and they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. Chazzy, do you think Ottawa has a legitimate chance to maybe catch Toronto this week to get out of the wild card and maybe catch third to avoid playing Florida in the first round?
They quite possibly could. They have a handful of tough division games or conference games, but the remaining games, they are winnable games for them. So they got a game in hand. So really you're 4 points still on the 2-point system, not the 3. So yes, they definitely have a shot at catching either one, the Lightning or the Leafs to push themselves up. But does that really, I guess, yeah, that wouldn't make a huge difference because right now they're slated to face Washington.
They'd be facing Florida.
Florida. Okay, yeah, so I bet you there's a lot of motivation in that locker room to move up.
Oh, 100%. And I'm looking at some of these games coming up. I mean, I think between Montreal and the Avalanche, we'll get in more of those within, especially the Montreal in a bit, but that's doable. Avalanche is tough, definitely doable to beat the Devils. You'll beat the Sabres more than likely. You'll probably beat the Red Wings. You'll probably beat the Penguins. And again, then you got the Jackets again. And then if you can somehow beat Tampa and Florida, or even split that coming into the beginning of April, you're setting yourself up for a legitimate chance down the stretch to get yourself in the division. Now, again, some things have to happen, but they have a legitimate chance to catch Toronto. And the big thing is when you talk to their coaching staff, they feel the same way, right? That coaching staff, they're not thinking about holding the wild card position. They're looking to jump.
Oh, they got momentum. They look like a solid team, and it reminded me of back in the 2005, 2004, or 2006 playoff run against the Sens and the Leafs. The rivalry there for about 3 years with the Mike Fisher days and Domi and Sundin days. Back when they had that rivalry in the playoffs, always meeting them in the second round. We'd always face
True Battle Ontario.
Yeah, those are 2 core solid teams back in that day.
Now, Dan, I want you to talk here now because you've heard both Chazzy and I feel this is doable. You don't.
Oh, wow, I can talk.
Congratulations. Anyone who knows Dan more for their money, they know he's also more about talking even when no one wants to hear him speak. But Dan, we want to hear your opinion on the island. So why do you think Ottawa can't do this? You're just looking at the schedule and you're just saying no, or do you think Toronto's just not going to dip that much?
Call me crazy here.
You're crazy.
I think, Jacob, you deserve the circus book if they can chase Toronto. That's just crazy. But call me a little nuts here. I think I'll deserve a circus book, what I say. I hate to say it because, we want them to make it, but I think Ottawa doesn't make the playoffs. I think either the Rangers or the Habs are going to jump over Ottawa.
You're nuts. Okay. Now let's go over.
You're saying right now we're set and that the wild card teams are going to be Ottawa and who's the other team? The Rangers.
Okay. I'm not saying we're definitely set on where we're at, but I don't see Ottawa slipping to a point where they're going to be out. I think they're pulling away. So let's go over those standings right now a little bit. We could talk about the Habs in this area too, right? So the Senators have 77 points.
Yep.
The Rangers have 72.
Yep.
The Habs have 71.
With 2 games in hand on the Rangers.
That's what I'm saying. Those games in hand
On the
are
Rangers,
The Senators
not
have
on
2
Ottawa.
games in hand over the Rangers, Dan.
Yeah. Not Ottawa. The Rangers.
Senators have 2. Yeah, the Senators have played 66. The Rangers have played 68.
Oh, my bad.
There is no, and again, and then they're played the same amount of games as Montreal. Detroit and Columbus have each played 1 more game than Ottawa. Ottawa, if they can continue to go at least win 6 out of 10 games down the stretch and be around that pace, around that 60% winning percentage, which is very doable for this team, they will definitely hold on to their wild card spot. I think now there's only 1 wild card spot realistically up for grabs.
Agreed. Yes.
Between the Rangers, Habs, Jackets, and Red Wings. And I'm just going to say this here, and I'm sorry to some of our Red Wing viewer fans. The Red Wings are not doing it this year.
No.
I think they're going to come up short.
I agree.
Down the stretch, they've really struggled, going 3-7 of their last 10. They're mediocre at home and mediocre on the road. I would have to pull up their schedule, but I don't believe they have the easiest schedule coming up either. I just don't see.
No, not at all.
I'm just pulling up their schedule now.
They probably got one of the hardest schedules coming up.
So they have Washington coming this week alone. They beat Vegas, which was a surprise. But then they got Washington and Vegas again. Then a back-to-back situation between Utah and Colorado. Then the Senators. Then the Bruins. And that's just to close out the month. So realistically, you probably lose to the Capitals.
Yeah.
I don't think you're shutting out Vegas in back-to-back games in the same week. Between Utah and Colorado, Utah's a hungry team in Colorado. You might lose both of those.
Ugh.
Detroit's got a really tough schedule down the stretch. So I think Detroit is going to be, unfortunately, and you look into April, it's not easier. You got the Blues, then the Hurricanes, and the Panthers, and the Habs. Then the Panthers and the Lightning back-to-back. Then the Stars. Then the Devils and the closeout against the Leafs.
So how many wins do you think Detroit's going to get in the Devils' last games?
I think Detroit will probably finish somewhere around 37 wins, and I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I know.
Around that 37, between 37 to 40, and they're just going to come up short.
Don't you all agree you need about 41, 42 wins to be competitive?
And this NHL, yeah, I think you need to win over 50% of your games.
Yes.
So we're pretty much same scenario in the West there with that number 8 spot. 4 teams battling for that last wild card.
100%, because
teams are pulling away now.
When we look at the West, I don't think anyone's catching Minnesota, especially considering once they get Kaprizov back, Minnesota's a much better team than they are probably the best wild card team. Actually, they just jumped up to 81 points tonight. Yeah. No one's catching Minnesota in the wild card.
No.
So basically, we have Vancouver, Calgary, Blues, and Utah fighting for that last spot. Vancouver and the Blues with 73. Calgary and Utah with 71. And we kind of saw Monday night for Calgary. This team just can't score. They play hard.
I was a shocker for me of Calgary. I think that Calgary game, the way they lost to Toronto, was as big as a deficit the way Toronto lost to Florida the other night. I mean, I think Calgary's pretty well done.
We look ahead to Calgary. They got to play the Rangers today, which is tough. Then they got the Devils, which that's a doable game. Islanders is a doable game. Kraken, doable game. Mm-hmm. Stars is tough. Oilers are tough. Avalanche, again, that's tough. Actually, looking at Calgary's schedule, though, if they can find a way to put it together, they play Utah again. They do have their fate somewhat in their own hands with some of the games they're playing. Close season against the Kings, that's very winnable. You got the Sharks, that's winnable. The Ducks, that's winnable. Play the Ducks twice in April.
I think the Kings are a better team you're giving credit for, aren't they?
They're a playoff team, but they're a playoff team. But I think for Calgary, they're beatable.
But it's the same scenario. They always face the Oilers, and it's a first round battle.
Well, you're right. If Calgary makes the playoffs, they would be more than likely whoever gets that final wild card spot in the West will be playing Winnipeg in the first round.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I'll be honest. I think whoever gets that final wild card spot in the West, whether it's the Canucks, Blues, or the Flames, or the Utah Hockey Club, I don't think any of them really stand a chance of beating Winnipeg in the first round.
I disagree. I honestly think if St. Louis gets the wild card spot, which I think they will, I don't think they'll beat Winnipeg, but I think they'll make it a tough 7-game series. I think St. Louis got a lot better in the second half of the season. Bennington beat Hallebuck in the Four Nations. Sen decided to stay there and lead the team. I think they can make it competitive against Winnipeg. I'm not saying they'll win, but I think it'll be competitive. Versus the other teams, I think they'll get swept. I
want to ask you guys, though, do you see out of the teams fighting, I think in the West, that final wild card spot's pretty open. I think they all still have a chance. I look at Utah, I look at Calgary, I look at the Blues. The Blues have one of the harder roads because they played more games. Calgary still has a game in hand over the Canucks and 2 games in hand over the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all those teams still have a legitimate chance of making it to the dance. Like I don't look at any of them and looking at their way they've been playing down the stretch and feel they don't have a shot.
I agree.
Chazzy, what are your thoughts there? You kind of think what I am, or do you see a team there that you just don't really think is going to be able to do it?
No, if I was rating either one of those 4, I'd say Calgary would be the team falling out of that spot for me anyway. Even though they have a game or 2 in hand, but I just don't. I can't see that team going deep or even getting in here, beating the Canucks or even Utah here.
Yeah, Calgary's got it tough because, you look, they're 3-4-3 in their last 10. So there's 2 ways to look at it. They've only won 3 of their last 10, or they've got points in 6 out of their last 10 games.
Yeah.
I think Calgary, to be honest, I think both Calgary and Utah are going to fall just short. And I think it's going to be a 2-horse race between the Canucks and the Blues.
See, I'm the opposite. I think the Canucks are going to fall short. It's way too much drama. I think Utah is a better team than people give credit.
No, I think Vancouver seems to be coming out of that drama.
Vancouver's coming out of it. You got Pettersson scoring again. You're getting good goaltending from Shelovs and Lankinen.
Trade deadline's done. These guys can focus now on this final spot.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Vancouver are the Blues, and I'm gonna go the opposite of Dan, and I think Vancouver finds a way to squeak in and then get swept by the Jets.
Yeah, we'll never get swept.
The way I feel right now, and obviously, who knows? We'll talk about this again on Thursday and be like, well, I don't know. Now Anaheim Ducks are going to make it quack, quack. No, obviously not. But I mean, obviously, this is a very tight race, and we still have some tight races even in some of the divisions. Like, Vegas is starting to pull away a bit from Edmonton. They have 86 points versus Edmonton's 82. But again, I'm not going to count the Oilers out to go on a run. They are only 5-5 in their last 10, which isn't great, but still. And I mean, the Central in the West, we all know it's Winnipeg. It's just basically who's going to get home ice between Dallas and Colorado. That's going to be a crazy first round. Both those teams are on fire right now. Colorado 8-1-1. The Stars.
You're thanking, like, the other teams are thanking the league that's in the first round.
Yeah, exactly.
You knock one of those powerhouses out first round, like.
Which is why I think maybe this will be a topic for the Thursday show, but the playoff format still needs to change in the NHL.
Well, we always talk about that, but it's true.
Agree with you 1,000%.
We look at the East. The Metro's settled. There's no way Carolina's catching Washington. So we know that's going to be the way it is. And the Rangers aren't going to catch the Devils. The Atlantic is still tight, obviously, as we already talked about. But, I mean, the standings, we're starting to see more and more the way things are shaping out. The wild card races are still really, really heating up. But you know what else?
How deep do we think the Caps will go this year?
Say that again?
How deep do we think the Caps will go this year?
Well, you got to look at the Caps. Will have a bit of an easier road. They're going to play the lower seed wild card in the East. However, that's the Rangers. That's not necessarily an easy road.
I think
Rangers are 4-4-2 in their last 10, but I do feel like since bringing in JT Miller, that kind of has turned the tides for this team. I think it really depends who Washington faces in the first round, but I think they're a team that's feeling they got to get to the conference finals bare minimum.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I really do.
Now they are in the weaker division in the East, and I do think that means something.
Yeah,
it means they do have a bit of an easier road to get there. Like, you look at Washington get out the first round, then they're going to play either Carolina or New Jersey. Carolina's such a crapshoot right now, even though they've won 7 straight, so maybe not.
Wow.
But I mean,
that's wild.
It is. I don't think
they're just a hockey team, right?
I don't see Carolina beating Washington, though. I don't see Carolina beating Washington because Carolina's a terrible road team, 14, 15-3 on the road versus 27-7.
But they're a different playoff team, though.
But they're a playoff team that goes out in the second round every year. The second round for Carolina is the first round for the Leafs. They've not been able to get over that hump. So, yeah, I think Washington has a pretty good path to get to the conference finals this year, to then get bounced out by someone in the Atlantic, whether it's Florida, Tampa, or Toronto. Whoever wins out in the Atlantic will go to the Stanley Cup finals in the East. That's my prediction.
Wow, interesting.
Wow. I don't know why
that does make sense because you are Leafs conference finals or bust.
Yeah, but I feel that way about Florida and Tampa. I feel like I think all three of those teams are looking at their rosters and looking at the moves they made at the deadline, and they're like, yeah, we're conference finals, if not Stanley Cup.
I think Washington's in the same boat.
Team looks.
I don't think Washington is. I don't think Washington was expecting to be this good this year.
Yeah, but now that they are, they can't disappoint.
But what did they do at the deadline to get better?
God, Bouvier, whatever his name is.
Well, they didn't really need to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that, but at the same time, they're in the weaker division. I think they'll falter to someone in the Atlantic, whether it's Florida, Tampa, or Toronto. I'm not saying that's necessarily what I want. I'm actually a Washington fan. But I look at the Atlantic, and the Atlantic is just so stacked.
So the Panthers are going to be in the repeat, possibly.
Potentially.
Back in the dance.
Lightning have a chance to kind of show that they haven't aged out, and Toronto's going to get a chance to prove that Mitch Marner should be paid $14 million. But you know what? If Chazzy made $14 million, he could get himself a cow for all his milk. So he's got to go put his milk in the microwave and heat it up because we go to bed at the end of the podcast because we record them pretty late at night. But when we come back, we are going to introduce our brand new 1v1 segment and so much more. We'll be right back. The Streakers Island podcast is here, baby. We're talking NHL, CFL, NFL, and of course, those grassroots sports and so much more. Make sure you tune in every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Welcome to the island. Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. And despite what you may see by my sweater, I am not a giant pumpkin. Sweaters are very comfy. And it's gotten a little chilly as the night went on. You know, we're on a budget here on the island, so we don't want to run the furnace too much, okay? That's why Dan and I are both in sweaters. Chazzy's in a sweater. At least we don't need toques, right, to keep our ears nice and warm as we're in March. But everyone's talking March Madness, and I have some madness for you. Dan actually thinks Ovechkin has made a bigger impact than Crosby.
Oh, here we go. I know where this is leading to.
So I am challenging Dan to our newest segment in the show, our 1v1.
Wow.
Ding, 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 ding.
Sidney Crosby is the GOAT of this era, of his era. Dan, you don't agree with me.
No, I mean, I have 887 reasons at the moment why Ovechkin's the best player of this era.
All right, Chazzy, I think we need a moderator here before I go upstairs and start throwing hands.
All right, so here's what we'll do here. We'll give you both 1 minute. Let me get my timer going. We'll take this chocolate-covered loonie. One side has a D, one side has a J. We'll do the coin toss on who goes first. Or actually, we'll give you the option of who goes first or second, whoever wins the toss. So it's landed on D. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. So, Dan, do you want to go first or J-Mo goes first?
I'm so confident I'm putting pressure on Jacob. Jacob goes first.
All right.
Okay, you know, by rap battle tactics, you just made it harder because it's harder to go first, but that's going to be easy done for me. You're looking at a Mr. Debate Club in high school, okay?
I was going to say, there's a veteran move
One
right
not
there.
be a championship in high school, bro.
Let me know
on the clock. Here you go, 1 minute now.
All right, so when we think about some of the greatest players ever, they have to be two-way players. And there is not a better two-way player in this era than Sid the Kid. Plus 196 over his career. Every single season, he has averaged a point per game or better. Actually, better. Every year, he averages more than the point per game. He's doing it again this year. He has won multiple Stanley Cups. He won the Four Nations. He's won Olympics. He's won World Juniors. He's won World Hockey Championships. My gosh, he's won the heart of North America. When you think of the greatest players, you're going to go Gretzky, Lemieux, Yager, and you know another name that's going to come to your mind? Sidney Crosby. You're going to put Ovechkin with the best goal scorers ever. You're going to, with Gretzky is one of the best goal scorers. You're going to think about guys like Mario Lemieux and the Flying Rocket and Teemu Selanne.
Time. Good job. Actually, that was a really good job. Good job.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, good job.
All right,
job.
Dan.
All right, you got 60 seconds.
On me. Let's see who's cooking.
Here we go. Ready? Go.
When it comes to sports, it comes to entertainment. And the best entertainer is Alex Ovechkin. It's not boring Sidney Crosby going out there winning face-offs and winning puck battles and having the highest plus-minus of all time. No, it's the flash. It's the dash. It's the ultimate cool guy, bro. He puts on the shades. You can check out the chicks in the stands, okay? This is how cool this guy is. This guy made hockey cool. This guy made non-hockey people watch the game. At the lowest point of the game, where they needed more American fans to watch and bring in money, Ovi was there to do it, and the greatest goal scorer of all time. And I gotta keep going, I guess. So I will keep going reading more, you know. He got 65 goals in 1 year. Okay, only 2 other people have done over 60 in this new era. He's run this time.
Good job. Hey.
Thank you.
All right. I would like one rebuttal. We each should be able to rebuttal 1 point.
One. Okay. What do you got? 30 seconds? You want 30 seconds?
Give me 30.
All right. Ready? Go.
You're going on flash and dash. Ovechkin has had some very boring years in his career where he hasn't even hit a point per game in his career. At the end of the day, he's only won 1 Stanley Cup, not multi, 1. And he has not been able to do nearly as much without Nicholas Backstrom. Sidney Crosby turned Chris Kunitz into a 30-40 goal scorer. And that is why he is the GOAT, the Slim Shady to the NHL. I don't even need 30 seconds.
There you go. Time. Okay, more for you. Got 30 seconds. Go.
Even in the seasons where Ovechkin maybe got under a point a game, he still had the best goals of the year, best highlights of the night, best audio clips of the year. Even his own peers, his own players say that Ovechkin's the scariest guy to play against because he can hit too. He can blow people out of the arena. Crosby can't do that.
Clearly, Dan does not know what 30 seconds is, but that is A-okay. All right, so
time.
This will be.
See, I didn't even need 30, bro.
This will
the
all
first
be
one,
on
good job.
media. All right, everyone. So make sure you vote. There's going to be a poll. Make sure you vote, and we will let you know the winner of the first ever Streakers 1v1. But now I think we need to calm down. Not that we need to play some Taylor Swift, even though we are getting into the NFL. You need to calm down. Oh. But the Bengals have not calmed down with spending money. They've agreed to give Chase $161 million and Higgins $115 million. Now, I have one serious question for the Bengals. Do they ever want to win a game? Sure, they spend all this money on offense. They can't defend. So they just spent, I get these 2 wide receivers are dynamic. And with Joe Burrow put up an MVP caliber season, and you didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that was just a slow start. It's
a start because they can't defend.
It'll turn around this year.
So who's going to defend for them, Chazzy? Are you going to put on the football armor and go get some sacks for them and get a pick?
That defense will stand up. It was an off year. They were very dominant there 4 or 5 years prior. This year was just an off year. Look out. I love this move. Like, the Bengals are exciting.
It's not just offense. It all comes down to time management and ball management. You have fast draw on offense, and if you're smart beating up the clock with that offense, you don't even need the strongest defense in the league because you'll have the ball for over 30 minutes a game.
This offense has to be number one this year.
That offense is big play offense, not run the clock. They're not the Chiefs, right?
No, they just love to score.
Is big play, and when you're a big play offense, you need your defense to be able to get stops. I'm not saying Chase and Higgins aren't amazing wide receivers. They are, but you look at other teams that do the same thing. When you spend this much money on a couple players, you're going to have holes. And the holes were big problems for them last season. I'm not saying they're not great receivers, but I'm going to go to the Seahawks here and look how they've reportedly have reached a deal with Cooper Kupp for 3 years at $45 million.
Nice deal.
That's a nice deal, right? And maybe the Bengals have looked into something like that. You still have your offensive weapon. Cooper Kupp still had 710 yards in an off year on 67 receptions and 6 TDs. That's an off year for Cooper Kupp. Got to remember that, right?
He only played like half the year.
You put him with Joe Burrow.
He got a quarter of the throws or targets, sorry.
So that's what I'm saying. You put that with Joe Burrow as a real gunslinger. I don't agree with spending this much money on wide receivers when your defense is that horrendous. Because
if it was any other two receivers, I would agree with you. But this is Chase, Higgins, and Burrows. The chemistry they have, like this is going to be an exciting 4 years for.
You know what? I'm going to say 2 names to counteract.
I'm going to say Super Bowl within the next 4 years.
Whoa!
Okay. Matthews
I'm
and
not even
Marner.
a Bengals fan.
Matthews and Marner. Core 4. Spending this much money on 2 big pieces usually blows up in your face. Look at the Chiefs. As much as I don't like the Chiefs, it's a spread the love system besides the Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And you're already paying Joe Burrow a boatload of money. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's a tough decision. I get where you're coming from. I want to be excited. But as a self-proclaimed sports analyst, I have to put my excitement away, okay? I have to talk about the facts. We're not talking Machine Gun Kelly and his man buns. We're talking facts. And it's kind of like the Bills situation with just now paying Josh Allen. I'm not saying they overpaid him whatsoever, but something else.
That was a good deal.
Something else has got to give somewhere, right?
That was Bengals, unfortunately.
The Bengals, I think they should have given up a little offense to gain that defense that they desperately need because their defense is horrendous. It was the worst defense in the NFL.
I love that Bosa move that the Bills made, though.
I love that Bosa move by the Bills. Yeah. Again, that's a good value move, right? I look at the Cooper Kupp move. That's a great value move. I look at the Giants who are going to be talking to Jameson Winston today. If you can pick him up, that's a good value move.
So do you see this
backup quarterback that could take the starting role if you need it?
I'm not convinced on this Seahawks team. Do you see them being better next year than they were this year?
I think it'll be better this year. I think getting Cooper Kupp was a great addition.
100%. They're going to be better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Geno Smith was not the guy. Geno Smith just played okay.
Yeah, he's an okay quarterback. And he could go another team and be a great quarterback, but for whatever reason, he just didn't really work. Not terrible, not great.
I think the Seahawks are definitely a playoff team next year.
100%.
And I'm not saying the Bengals won't be a playoff team, but it's going to be tough without defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if they don't have their defense does show, we'll be seeing like 60 to 50 games.
Yeah, I saw a hilarious clip, but someone edited the scoreboard in. It's going to be like the entire Bengals season: Ravens 97, Bengals 94.
Oh, yeah, they could beat scoring records in the NFL.
But if they can't defend, we all know defense wins championships, right? And I think they'll be exciting, but I think they're going to lose a lot of close blowout style, blow the doors off them games because they just can't defend.
Now,
if you look at their offensive numbers, the Bengals were incredible last year.
I mean, it's not over
in the second half of the season.
Could have won the MVP.
Yeah, on a losing season. Exactly.
I mean, the Bengals can still make a trade on deadline. They can still sign some defensive players. It's not over yet.
With what money, Dan?
Well, maybe we make some trades now.
Again, with what money?
Well, I'm saying we only got all this good offense. Maybe we're just moving offense around. Instead of they got these new guys, now we're going to trade the offense they had last year with some better defense.
Draft a couple key young studs that can sort of bring a little bit of young culture in around some of the vets they have there.
And Joe Burrow, last year, threw for 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions with a QB rating of 108.5, and they missed the playoffs.
And how many games did he start? How many games did he start?
That is a very good question. I will tell you.
I think
because he missed what? No, because he missed the beginning. He missed
a couple games.
Yeah.
Probably played about 14 or so.
I believe that's it.
I think it was 4.
Okay, these NFL stat sites are so much worse than. But yeah, he missed 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
and they finished the year. They finished the year 9-8-7, and I want to put this into perspective. Okay, so they gave up 434 points last season. The Steelers gave up 347, and Baltimore gave up 361. And Cleveland, who was 3-14, gave up 435. So only gave up 1 less point than the Cleveland Browns. All right. Offense was not the problem. Sacrifice your offense a little bit, because they're the second highest scoring team in that division. Right? Sacrifice the offense a little bit and bolster the defense. Because you could practically replace half your secondary for the price of one of those wide receivers. They're not dynamic players. And Chazzy, I get why you're excited, and a part of me wants to be excited. But I'm not.
I'm excited too, because now in the game you can draft a couple stud defensive players.
Well, that too, yeah, exactly.
But college football is so much different than the NFL.
It is on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, you either have it or you don't.
You got to read the offense as a defender. The schemes. Look at the Detroit Lions. They throw out trick plays when they're bored. Like, it's getting harder and harder to defend.
Yeah, but college does that too. College is more trick plays than NFL.
No, but you're seeing more of these college students game ready in their first year of eligibility after they're being drafted.
Didn't get a good enough draft
and
pick.
Making an impact.
Remember, the Bengals draft picks, they had an okay year. It's going to be middle pack.
That's fine. Middle pack. That's fine on the defensive side of the ball. That's fine.
Exactly, 100%.
I'm going to.
All the top teams are going for weapons.
Yeah,
on the offensive side of the ball.
I'm going to agree to disagree with you guys. I think they should have taken that money and bolstered the defense. Kept one of those guys and bolstered your defense, because you can score no problem. Keeping both of them is a mistake, in my opinion, as a self-proclaimed giant pumpkin sports analyst.
Time will tell.
I do like this one, Jameson Winston trying in New York.
I think that's a great no-risk, high-reward situation, because Jameson Winston had some moments this year where he started to look pretty good. Then he threw 4 interceptions in a quarter. But you saw some potential there, right? And I think the quarterback position is the most interesting position coming into this year. So we still don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going yet.
Minnesota.
Caleb Williams was a huge disappointment for the Browns. I think for the Chicago Bears, sorry. They were expecting a lot more out of him. Will Jaden Daniels continue to be this dominant? I think he will.
Yes.
Or does he take a bit of a slump like CJ Stroud did? Not saying CJ Stroud had a bad year, but it wasn't as good as his rookie year. Right?
No, that's the real deal.
No, I think Daniels will be better this year.
Yeah.
So do I. But I mean, I think the quarterback position is fascinating this year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Can Joe Burrow score 60 points a game? Because that's what they're going to need. They're going to need to score like 30, 40, 45 points a game to win.
With those weapons, yes.
But so many times in the NFL, it just comes down to last possession and who can control that ball the most in the fourth quarter. So I agree with you guys that the offense can learn how to do less big play and more ball control. Then maybe, because then you're not relying on your defense so much. But that's not the way that team is built, and it's not the way they're continuing to build that offense. So time will tell. But where's Aaron Rodgers going, Dan? You're saying Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm saying the retirement home.
No.
I just want him to go away. He can go to the UFL.
No.
Chazzy, do you think he's going retirement home, Minnesota, or who knows? He's going to Buffalo. Josh Allen's going to get traded for 18,000 first-round picks. I'm kidding, Bills fan.
Well, I keep hearing Pittsburgh. I don't know where he fits into Pittsburgh, but yeah, I guess Minnesota is the latest. But I think he's got another year at least in him. No.
Okay, but interesting enough then. So you think he's an upgrade over Russell Wilson or Justin Fields?
Well, just seeing what they have going right now, it all depends on the coach. Like I'd say, definitely over Fields. But Wilson,
there's too many things that the other guys can't, right? Because he's also he's an interesting weapon.
Well,
again, he doesn't have the arm strength, but the RPOs you can run if that guy is second to none.
It's hard to see what Rodgers you're going to get. Are you going to get the pre-Achilles Rodgers, or are you going to get the Rodgers of last year where mediocre, right? So Does he still get his $50 million if someone signs him?
No way.
Like, is that contract done? Because isn't he still under contract for a couple of years?
No, he was released.
Oh, okay.
If someone gives him $50 million, I will FedEx them this book because that is insane. Yeah. Like Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, he should be on a prove it contract, like a Daniel Jones type contract, where he's got to prove it. Because last year in the Jets, he was too inconsistent. He'll make a team a 5-win team instead of a 3-win team. I don't see him being good enough at 41 to make that big of an impact anymore.
But Tom Brady did it.
Tom Brady was a different animal who deflated his balls.
So, yeah, because if he goes to Minnesota, then
that's a downgrade.
Basically saying he's better than Darnold, right?
Which he's not. Not at this point.
But they got to do something. They need a good quarterback there to replace him, right? And I think Aaron Rodgers could be a much better player if he's on a better team.
Well, they got McCarthy there, so it all depends on, do you start Rodgers at the beginning of the season and bring in a McCarthy throughout the year?
That's what
it seems to be that's their plan anyway.
That's what I would
do. Rodgers go to a team like, if he knows that's the formula, like, is that going to motivate him?
Which I don't think it would. I think Aaron Rodgers wants to go somewhere where he can be the king because that's just his personality. Now, here's another question for you guys about Aaron Rodgers. Does he not sign until week 3 or 4?
That's a possibility, too.
Did you see it where maybe a team's going to wait and see what their young studs do first?
Maybe.
I think he signs before the beginning of the year. I really do. I think with him being a better
he doesn't do training camp anyways. He just goes.
Yeah, but I didn't work out for him. So maybe this year he doesn't.
Oh, he won't. He'll just go on the Pat McAfee podcast, where he should be coming on the Streakers Island podcast to argue with me why he's better than Damon Allen.
So you may see him at the tail end of training camp.
I think you guys hold way too much respect on a guy that's never really reached his potential.
Ooh.
What?
I'm going to say that.
Jacob.
Everyone said he was the next Tom Brady. How many rings does Aaron Rodgers have?
Yeah, but that was an era of quarterbacks. Like we were treated to some flying class quarterbacks.
Well, then why hasn't he been able to do it the last 4 or 5 years then?
That's like a golfer golfing when Tiger Woods was just cleaning up all these tournaments. It was just
but you could argue the same thing in tennis, and these other tennis players have still found a way to do it after the Roger Federer era.
Yeah, but it was only a handful of guys that kept winning after that.
It's still a handful of guys. What has Aaron Rodgers done that is so remarkable? Like, seriously, what has he done that you're like, wow?
Throw it from the 50-yard line.
Okay, what has he done consistently? That's wow.
Win games.
Win games. Do we need to look at the NFL standings from last year? I will pull them
last
year. Pre-injury. When he was still on the front page of newspapers.
Exactly.
He's on the front page of newspapers where his darkness retreats. Fine, let's go back to 2022. Where is Aaron Rodgers in 2022?
Injured?
No, he's injured in 2023.
With Green Bay.
Go pre-COVID.
Okay, so you want to go back? We'll go. You know what? I'll even be nice to you guys. We'll go back to 2017. So in 2017, he was on the Packers, correct?
Talk about Mr. Calculator. Holy cow, going 6 years back.
He was on the Packers. He was packing. He was packing his bags of a record of 7-9.
Yeah, but what about the year after that? Didn't they go 14-2?
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I'll go 2018 for you guys. Gonna get you guys a shovel because you need to start digging.
There was a couple of years where that team was unbeatable during the regular season.
6-9.
Okay, the year after that.
We got to go pre-COVID. Okay, 2019, 2020. 2019, 2020. Okay, 13-3. Did they win?
There we go. Did
they win a championship that year?
No, I think didn't they get second round? Was that second round beat?
Oh, second round. Wow.
Yeah, but that was a tough loss, no?
Oh, that was so tough. You sound like a Leaf fan.
You argued a couple weeks ago about big games in the NFL about
Florida. We almost beat Tampa. if we didn't get high stick to 93, we'd have a Stanley Cup.
That's the truth.
Rodgers took 18 billion things of steroids and half the other teams didn't try. He'd have 10 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers' entire career has not been that great.
Oh.
He puts up decent numbers, even better than decent, but in the playoffs, he doesn't do anything.
He can still throw a 50-yard pass with less effort. Just
again, 2020. I don't care about a 50-yard pass of minimum effort. There are guys in the UFL that can do that. I see it in the CFL all the time. I'm talking guys that can win. Sure, Aaron Rodgers had another 13-3 season with the Packers the year after. Did they win a Super Bowl? What was that? No. Aaron Rodgers is mediocre at best when it comes to things that matter. So a team that's going to pay him $50 million is nuts. Look when he went to the Jets. He turned the Jets the year without Aaron Rodgers, okay? Because remember, I admit when he was injured, obviously he couldn't do much.
Going to the Jets, that was just a nightmare.
The Jets were 7-10 without Aaron Rodgers. You know what they were with Aaron Rodgers? 5-12. Sure, he put up decent numbers again. Look at Aaron Rodgers' stats that year. They're actually okay.
So put him with a good team, like Minnesota.
He was
with a good offensive line.
Where's his ring?
Exactly.
Where's his rings with Green Bay?
Well, Mahomes has them all.
Oh, cry me. Now you sound like a Bills fan. I'm a Bills fan. But at the end of the day, I'll say the same thing about Josh Allen. He hasn't gotten it done yet. I love the guy, but he hasn't gotten it done yet. No, Aaron Rodgers has always been a second fiddle. I don't know why he gets first fiddle money with second fiddle results.
He's more a second fiddle, bro.
Really? Tell me an era where he's been the best quarterback. Please, I'm waiting.
Well, why after Tom Brady retired?
Patrick Mahomes.
He wasn't that good yet.
Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Yes.
No. He was some chirpy little kid that no one gave a crap about.
Chirpy little kid that was winning Super Bowls. Like, seriously, when was he really the greatest player? I'm waiting.
I told you.
You guys want to pay him this big money. He's never been the guy.
Oh, I didn't say pay him. I just say pay him big money.
You're telling me in the Tom Brady era, he was better than Peyton Manning?
Never. No, not at all.
So he was third best at best.
That's why I say the caliber of quarterbacks that he was going up against in that era.
But we can make the same argument now. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow.
Yeah, those guys still have time to get it done.
But you
Rodgers is like, yeah, all I'm saying is
Jalen Hurts not done yet. Mediocre, and he's been to the Super Bowl twice in 3 years and won one of them.
So Aaron Rodgers is still in the top 10%.
He can still play football.
Sure, I can play football. Doesn't mean I deserve to be in the NFL.
He can still win NFL games. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, he can win 5.
No, a team like Minnesota, he'll do very good. Because there's a better team around him. Look at Crosby. Crosby's the best player of all time. Even Pittsburgh with Crosby, Pittsburgh still sucks this year.
Hockey's a completely different sport than football. Not comparable. Completely different. Football, the offense is ran by one guy. Hockey is not.
No, it's ran by your O-line.
Exactly. So you think, so if you have an O-line that in the playoffs was only giving Darnold 3 seconds to make a pass, and Aaron Rodgers is a big bomb threat passer, according to you guys, how is that going to work?
Well, Minnesota.
Like, seriously, how does that work?
Minnesota's going to get better for O-line, I would think.
How? If you're going to pay Aaron Rodgers $50 million, where's the money?
Well, I don't think he deserves $50 million.
Well, then what does he deserve? 40? 30?
Yeah, about 30, I would say.
You do realize that's more than you were paying Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
No, you give him 15 to 20. I guess that contract just expires then that he just signed for a couple of years ago.
Yep. Yeah, like guys, I'm sorry.
I like him. I think he's a cool dude.
All I'm saying is Aaron Rodgers is not done. He's still got another year.
Some idiot will give him a contract. Someone will decide to pay him a substantial amount of money to continue to win 7 games. But it will be a team that's trying to. I think the Vikings will sign him, and it's going to be instant regret by week 4 when they're 1-4, and Aaron Rodgers is pushing their coach on the sideline.
Ouch!
Like he likes to do.
I'll go the opposite end of that spectrum, and I'll say they'll make the playoffs.
I agree.
Minnesota.
We better make sure we save this timestamp around 53 minutes.
Yes, please do.
Come on, prove you won, Jacob.
Oh my gosh, this is why I'm the self-proclaimed sports analyst, and
we were pumping Max Domi's tires there last week, and look what he's done ever since. So
exactly, you wanted to bench him.
Yeah,
I said give him one more game.
Praising the ice that he's skating on.
I said give him one more game, and he proved himself in that game. Aaron Rodgers has had plenty of times to prove himself, and he has not.
He just needs that one more game.
Exactly.
Well, all right, let's move on before I put my head through the wall, and then I got to call a contractor. And
Jacob, you want Aaron Rodgers in the NFL, because if he doesn't, he's coming to the CFL.
No CFO. He's not a starter in the CFO either.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's where? Okay, fine. We'll keep Aaron Rodgers. So you're telling me your Calgary Stampeders are going to bench Vernon Adams Jr. to play Aaron Rodgers?
No, not Calgary.
Okay, Toronto.
No, not Toronto.
Edmonton.
You'd sell a lot of tickets.
Yeah, I can see Edmonton.
They are going to bench the phenom Trey Fort that the fans are literally cheering. We want Trey. We want Trey, for a guy in his 40s that can't move.
Yeah.
In a game that the quarterbacks have to be way more mobile than they do in the NFL because of the size of the field.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah,
I do agree with you, Chad. He would sell a lot of tickets. I will give you that.
Good, finally sell 70,000 tickets to Edmonton.
But let's move on to the Toronto Blue Jays again before I put my. Although then again, I don't like the wood paneling in my basement, so maybe it'd be good if I put my head through it.
Well, I've already.
Before we get into the Jays, is there any more like? Is with Vladdy? Like, are they no contract at all going into the season?
Yeah,
that's still the stipulation.
No, I think we might get it done.
I don't.
Because they they are looking, mind you, at spring training, they usually look good then. Like, if they could stay healthy, but I don't know if you want that over your head going deep into the season. If these guys are mid-tier in that division,
I think you give it 30, 40 games, like I've said before, and you go from there.
I think this whole thing was just a negotiation tactic from Vladdy, and I think they get it done before the season starts.
Well, they're running out of time.
But they're going to have to give him his money. They're going to have to give him the money.
Yeah, I know. Give it to him.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Who else do they have to give it to?
Who else should we give it to? The team sucks.
That's what I'm saying.
They're over under for this year's 78.5 wins. That's not even enough wins to make the playoffs again.
I get that. So you got this franchise guy that wants to stay here. Give him the money.
But is he a franchise guy if he's never really gotten it done in the playoffs?
Yes, because he has no one to play with.
Yeah, but baseball is more individual effort than almost any other sport.
Okay, you got 30 home runs, over 100 RBIs, 320 hitting average. You can't get much better than that.
322 would be better than 320.
Well, okay, maybe it was higher than 320. I don't know the exact number.
No, but I think on average over the last 4 or 5 years, I think he's missed 4 games on average a year, and he's still hitting 280 plus on average. And in baseball these days, that's pretty good.
That's unheard of, exactly. Because mediocre is what, 250?
Well, now we're seeing some averages like the mid low 200s.
Right, yeah, exactly.
From studs, right?
I'm not saying Vladdy's not a great player, but it depends if you feel you can build a winning team around Vladdy. And if
absolutely, but he's that 100%. Caliber player.
I agree he's that caliber player, but if they don't want to pay him that, they clearly don't feel he is. I'm not saying I agree with you. I'm talking about Blue Jay management, who I think should have been fired going into this year.
I agree with that, yeah.
Like, they should be like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop the loss.
I think it's just Rodgers being really cheap. I think we're going to get it done eventually. Like, look at how many, whenever you see over jerseys, Blue Jay jerseys, every one of them says Vladdy on them, okay?
But the longer
the jersey sales alone, they got to keep them.
But the longer it goes, you're going to have to pay them anyway. Team does well in your first 40 games, the fans are going to want you to sign them anyway. So you're going to have to pay them anyway. So why?
Oh, what if I got the deal done? Yes. Will the Jays?
Unless you're going to move on from them, then you let it go the whole year and see what happens.
I really think they might. But I want to ask you guys here, do you like this over-under at 78.5 wins? Yay or nay?
For the team that's on paper right now, it should be way over.
So you would take the over in a heartbeat?
I would, yes. But again, injuries, which we've seen with this team before, hurts, right? So,
and I'm still not sold on the pitching. That's my big issue between the pitching and the drama. I don't know.
Starting five's not too bad, but it's the bullpen, right?
And the big issue is too, and you know what? I get sick of this excuse, but I am going to bring it up. They're in a tough division, so they got to play their division a lot, right? Yeah. They're in a type of division where you probably need 80, high 80s, low 90s to make the dance.
At least.
Yeah, I was going to say we need at least 90 wins.
Because if you're not winning your wild card right out of the gate, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you're in a division that all 5 teams can win that division at any time of the year.
Like, what would you set your over-under to the Jays? I'd set my over-under for this team at about 87. I think on paper, if they stay healthy, they're a team that can be fighting for a wild card spot.
Agreed, yes.
I think they'll get between 80, high 80s, maybe low 90s.
Low 90s. I'd say low 90s.
If you sign Guerrero right away and get rid of the drama, low 90s.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're going to win about 92 games.
Dan puts like a stamp, like 92.
Will that get them into the playoffs? We don't know because you got Baltimore
I think 92 games gets them in the playoffs.
It might just get them a wild card, though. And
still gets them in, right?
The Jays have some great players. Like George Springer's a great player.
Winner.
The relief is still where I get nervous. I think the bullpens. I don't have a lot of faith in it right now going into the year. And that's kind of my
Well,
I still think the Jays are a better team than people are giving them credit. They're not a world.
I think they need a little more defense too. We haven't really replaced Kevin Pillar yet.
Yeah,
we need to see some of their youth come up and see what we got there before we start making big changes.
And I mean, I get it too, right? You're hoping that Jeff Hoffman becomes a really solid closer, and Garcia and Green become the real setup men in the middle. But then you're worried more about Brandon Little, who we've seen hot and cold from. Nick Slaney, hot and cold. Rodriguez, hot and cold.
Goes hot and cold.
He does. I don't know about this pitching core for the Jays. That's my big question mark. But you know what else is a question mark? How has Chazzy talked for this long about having a sip of milk? And how has Dan gone this long without swearing? For people know, there's quite a few times I have to cut him out because he drops an F-bomb. So we're gonna go to a break so Chaz can get his milk and Dan can just run into a room and start swearing for no apparent reason. And when we come back, we're gonna get into some NHL picks with some critical games. Plus, the CFL looks like it might be making a Canadian movement. You'd think Canadian, but there's a lot more to it. We'll be right back.
Come on in. Oh, there's an opportunity knocking right there. All right, Streaker Nation.
More for your money.
Big news. Yeah. We have more for your money joining the Streaker Nation and the team. It takes a village to do something that we want to pull off. We're so excited. So download the latest Streakers app. Watch for the updates. Watch for more happening. Coming for more for your money. Let's go streaking.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. Did you know we call it the Streakers Island podcast because it's a podcast? And we're powered by Streakers Gaming. And Dan loves islands. Like, he is obsessed with them. I think if he could drink his way to the island of Toronto Island with a big straw, I think he would.
Well, I did tell you, Jacob, when we were on Pizza Island when we were kids, it was going to sink, and you believed me.
I did. I was foolish. I was as foolish as Aaron Rodgers lovers. But
oh,
let's talk about the Canadian Football League. And I was scrolling through Instagram, as anyone does when they're bored. And I came across a post from the most loved, hated man in the league, Chad Kelly. And Chad Kelly, the last couple posts has been very Canadian focused, which is interesting, you know, with the, again, we're not going to get into the politics, but with the political climate. And he is saying from this season, he wants to work strictly with Canadian businesses. He's proud of this league. He's proud of this country. He's proud that his son is going to be born Canadian, and he wants to work with Canadian businesses. He spoke about how his agent and everyone he works with are Canadian, and he really wants to work with Canadian businesses. Is this a stance the CFL should take? I'm sorry, Dan, that this is boring and you're falling asleep.
No, not that. I think it's a very interesting topic. I agree that the CFL should be proud to be the Canadian Football League. I think it's a perfect marketing opportunity.
And I think this is the time more than ever when like they should be pushing that is different than the American game. And you're seeing someone like Kelly doing that. And I do wonder, are more players going to follow suit? We've seen Winted McManus say the same thing when he's complaining about having to walk through snow to get to his car on Instagram. He's a funny guy on Instagram, by the way.
Look at Pinball. Pinball was born in Florida and became a Canadian citizen.
Very, very true. So, I mean, I just wonder, will the league take a more Canada-built approach this season? I mean, without a commissioner, we don't fully know. I think they're a little behind, straight up. Yeah. But, yeah, I think maybe more players take Kelly's lead and do this Canadian first momentum, because Chazzy, I think we've talked about this before. The Canadian brand is stronger than it's been in Canada in a very long time.
Oh, absolutely. And if the league can sort of help some of these businesses on the Canadian side and match them up, almost like the NIL programs for students down in the States, do that for the Canadian landscape and connect the players with some of these grassroots or hometown small businesses that have been in these communities year after year and maybe supported the teams year after year, like you guys and your family has for a few generations now with the Argos, right? So if they can do that and really help support that grassroots momentum and movement on the Canadian level, then yeah, they definitely got a home run there.
And I think, too, this is huge for Canadian players in the CFL. I mean, Chad Kelly is American from Buffalo. Jim Kelly's nephew, just in case anyone hasn't connected those two dots. Buffalo Bills legend. And you look at someone like Trey Ford, right, who's really trying to make his name known in the CFL, Canadian-born content, Canadian-born, hopefully superstar, and same with Nathan Rourke. Maybe this is a chance for these guys to be like, look, this is a Canadian league. We're different. We're built different. Support local, support Canadian, support the league. Well, I think if the players in the league can take that stance, I think we could see a huge uptick in ticket sales.
Look at Austin Mack, for example. He went to the NFL, then signed a 4-year contract. CFL is unheard of, CFL, and so he's never going back to the NFL. So he could be another example of follow Jack Kelly's footsteps.
I just think it's interesting. Kelly made 2 posts that were very, very, very Canadian first. One was a video post. One was just a novel. He likes to post novels, just in case, you know, Chazzy, make sure you bring your reading glasses. Big glass of milk for those posts. But I do think that maybe the league should be following suit, no matter whoever the commissioner is or the group of people that are running the league until they find one. Take this as an opportunity to run with this, market it really, we are Canadian, kind of like that old Molson's commercial that's been revitalized, and use that for the CFL. And I think this is a way you can get a lot more butts and seats, get more merchandise first. If they start doing like, we're Canadian, of course we only need 3 downs to move 10 yards. We're Canadian, of course we can handle our bigger balls. We're Canadian, the field goal posts belong in the front of the end zone, not the back, and make all that merch for CFL, line that up with Canadian businesses as well, as Chazzy said, businesses that have been supporting the league all this time. And all of a sudden, I think you're stirring the pot for success. You're smelling that success porridge. I don't know what you guys like in your porridge, but I like money. And the CFL could use this as an opportunity.
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal. Oatmeal porridge. Chazzy's been adding something
Cream
a little
of
bit
wheat.
of White Russian instead of just his milk, I think.
I have my oatmeal every morning with some berries. So
Okay. You know what I eat for breakfast in the morning? Nothing. Because I don't like to get up in the morning. But
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, and for anyone listening, Streakers Island's in Canada too. Streaker Nation's Canadian golden business as well. So support us too.
exactly, support Canadian business. But let's move on to some NHL picks here. We were going to talk about some other topics that we are going to have to push for another week. So make sure you stay locked in to hear about our commissioner talk and some golf news. But let's get into the Leafs versus the Avs coming up on Wednesday, my dude.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we taking here? And I've also made some props that Chazzy will add into the Streakers app and into our sports booth. Because remember, this is a big difference with Streakers. The game changer is that you can add your own custom props and challenges to all your battles, which is something fascinating that other apps cannot do. We give you the power. We put the power in the play and the play in the power. But who's going to win, the Leafs or the Avs? Chazzy, Leafs or Avs? I think I know what you're going.
Oh, that's an easy one. Take me to the mountains, the Rocky Mountains.
Ain't no mountain high enough. All right, Dan, Leafs or Avs?
I think the Leafs are going done this time.
It will be a big test for your team here.
I'm gonna say Toronto 2-1 in overtime.
Ooh.
I think they're gonna be able to keep these teams. I think it's gonna be a more low-scoring game.
Wow.
Goalie duel.
Wow.
But I want to bring this into my custom props because Chazzy gave me the power, which I'm very pleased. Will Brandon Carlo play over 20 and a half minutes?
Yes.
Chazzy, yes or no?
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be more balanced because of the way the third pairing's been playing. Will Nathan McKinnon get at least 4 shots?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm also said yes. Will Austin Matthews light the lamp?
No.
No.
Yes. Scored 2 against Calgary. He's going to get a power play goal. That is my thoughts. And I'm
not 5-on-5 yet.
No. But I do agree with you, Chazzy, though, when you say, remember, make sure you play along in those custom props. But, Chazzy, I do agree with what you're saying. I think this is a real test for Toronto. Even if they don't win this game, I think it's got to be close. They can't get blown up by the Avalanche. They need to send a message that they are playoff built.
Well, you just blew a big lead in their own barn there a few weeks ago.
That's why they're going to come back and win this one.
So now this is a big test to see if you can hold on to a lead.
Which they were able to hold on against Calgary, but let's be honest, I'm a Flames fan, but comparing Calgary to Colorado, I mean, they both start with C. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think I had the Leafs last week to beat the Flames, so.
You did. Congratulations. I'll give you a cookie.
Thank you. Thank you.
You dip in the milk.
But yeah, this is a huge test, I would say, for Toronto. Colorado, remember too, when we were looking at those standings, right? They're trying to get home ice in the first round. So they need all the wins they can get. And so do Toronto. Remember, Colorado's only 2 points behind Dallas, right? 8-1-1 in their last 10. They're really trying to catch Dallas to get second in the Central. There's no way
that's
they're catching
tight, eh? 87-80. Wow. That's tight at the top.
87-85. It's tight.
Crazy.
Oh, Dallas has that 2 games in hand. Wow. Okay.
And Toronto is still trying to catch Tampa and Florida to try to jump up to first in the Atlantic. Remember, Toronto still has 2 more games against the Panthers, so they can continue to go on a bit of a run. Panthers have lost 2 in a row, which is a surprise. 2 games that they probably should have won. So Toronto still has a chance to get it done, right? And getting a win against Colorado would be huge for them, beating a team that realistically they're not supposed to beat. Because they just lost to the Islanders and the Canadians. And Chazzy, no offense, I know you're a Canadians fan and we're both Islanders fans, but those are 2 games you expected Florida to win. That opens the door again for Toronto.
Right, yeah. How's a shocker for Florida fans? Holy cow.
It was. But I want to move to another game going on coming up, which is the Senators versus the Canadians. Now, this is an interesting game for me. because you had the two hottest teams in the NHL coming to battle each other, right? You got the Montreal Canadiens that are rolling. Patrick Laine is getting back to scoring more power play goals than anyone else in the league in the short amount of time he's played. He's got 16 goals this year, 13 of them on the power play, which is crazy. You have the Senators, who are getting incredible goaltending from Allmark.
Insane goaltending.
He must have watched a Hallmark movie where the goalie falls in love and starts playing insane and then marries the woman that he met in grade school back in Sweden. I don't know. Hallmark movies are just crazy. But who's winning this one? Sens or Habs? Dan, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to make Chazzy happy. Habs.
Chazzy, who are you taking?
We beat them 5-2 last game, so we're going to beat them again. 4-2.
I'm saying the Senators, they're going to extend their winning streak to 7.
But it's my turn now for some customized props.
We'll
have that you can add to our picks with the Leafs, but we can also add in for multiple picks here. So will there be a goal in the first 5 minutes of the third period?
No.
I say yes.
Okay. Will there be a power play goal in the second period by either team?
Yes.
Yes.
Patrick Laine!
Maybe I was thinking.
And will Brady Tkachuk score a goal?
No.
Funny if I was going to say no, too.
He's going to get booed off the ice.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
You know what? One bonus one here. Will Montreal outshoot the Senators?
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. So,
but you know what? Since we still have a little bit of time left, let's talk about the Tiger Woods golf thingamajig. Tomorrow's Golf League, which is a tech-infused 3-on-3 golf league. What happened to it? Everyone was talking about it, was really hyped. We saw the greatest blooper ever when Tiger Woods hit a 99-yard shot. It was supposed to be 199 yards.
That was amazing.
And the same day, they also lost their thing to track where their putting was. I thought that was hilarious, too. But have you guys noticed it's coming? The playoffs start like this week, and nobody cares. You guys, you go on the sports pages for golf. Nobody's talking about it. Have you guys noticed that? The hype kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, especially this weekend with the players and the playoff today. But yeah, I guess it's more of an off-season game they're trying to schedule around.
So do you think it's just the wrong time of year it was put into, and that's the problem? Because like the hype's gone.
Well, they did have it was supposed to be launched a couple of years ago, right? So who knows? Maybe the format, and maybe they're going to tweak the format a bit. I don't know what the ratings have been like, but yeah, you don't, like you said, you don't see it too much other than if you're flicking through, and I think here in Canada, Sportsnet carries it.
Yeah, but it's not on prime time. Like, it's not a prime time event. And I'm going to say this too. I don't think Tiger Woods' name carries the same chutzpah it did 10 years ago or 15 years ago, however old I am. And I think a lot of people, I get there are a lot of people rooting for Tiger Woods, but there are just as many people rooting against him. And I watch.
Anytime we can get a Tiger moment on a Sunday, I'll take another one anytime.
Exactly.
Yeah, but okay, but you say that. Chazzy, have you watched it?
I have actually watched it, yes.
And what were your thoughts?
Slow when you're watching on TV. Kind of a little confusing on order of who's shooting what. Just slow. It's hard.
I find it weird in a virtual where it's virtual. It takes so long to get through a hole.
No.
But they do make it mic. I like they're trying to integrate the mic and you get into the players, what the players are saying, and they're trying to make it as personal as possible. But
I don't know though if the average golf viewer is interested into golf enough to care.
For watching it as the virtual on TV.
For watching it at home.
Yeah.
It's almost like they need two different broadcasts of it. A more snippy one, and then have like a bonus coverage one that people can go to if they want. Like when you watch a director's cut of a film. Because I watched a bit of it too, and truthfully, my mind just kind of wandered. because it's kind of like baseball before they brought in the pitch clock, right? They need something to speed it up. And I don't know if you go the curling route and put a timer on per game, so that way they can't take forever before their shots. I get they want to talk strategy. But at the same time, I thought this virtual golf tech infused would be faster pace, and I think it's slower. At least it feels slower. Because it's not pretty to look at. At least when you watch golf, the scenery is beautiful. The drone shots are incredible. The commentary is really deep and interesting, where I just didn't find that. I don't know on a production level if they need to improve it. Maybe the tech needs to look prettier. But for me, it's not there. And for their first year, I would call it a miss, not a hit.
Yeah.
Hey, Kathy, I think you're more of a golf fan than I am. I think if I can read your pupils, you're deep into your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love the links.
You love the links. Okay,
but it's a different game. It's trying to make the virtual. It's a cool concept.
It is,
and that you can play virtual golf like this, hitting out of the sand. They have real rough turf that you're hitting inside. But for the fan to watch that on TV versus like either being there watching it or actually being the one to participate in a virtual golf experience like that, it would be pretty cool. But to get the common golfer, it's tough, right? Because they're just going to want to swing the club and do what they're doing.
And I'm going to say this too. Would you watch this over a PGA Tour match?
No, absolutely not.
And I think that's the problem. They need to schedule it around the PGA Tour.
No, but I would say I'd be more inclined to watch someone play on a real golf course pertaining to just hitting. Because if you watch the drives, pretty much they're all down the middle on that screen.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Right? So it's us at the pub doing that old Tiger Woods golf with the rolly ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like we just loaded up 2K25 PGA Tour and we put it on
the skate ball. Yeah.
Or Wii Golf. Do you guys remember Wii Golf?
Oh, yeah.
I love the Wii Golf. Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, I think the tech is cool. I just don't know if it's really good for television.
Do what I think the problem is, too, not so much the tech and who's behind it, blah, blah, blah. I think a big problem was marketing. I mean, you look at the Four Nations, for example, they market the crap out of that thing. Even non-hockey fans knew that Four Nations was happening. I don't think that was the same with his golf thing, Vinny Majigis, Jacob calls it.
The Tomorrow's Golf League, which, by the way, just to prove a point on Dan's marketing, I had to Google what the heck it was called.
Yeah, exactly.
I literally Googled Tiger Woods golf thing, and that's what it came up with the name.
But then they have a ratings thing, like the first week when Tiger was on there, the ratings were high, and then they went to the next week, and it sort of dropped off when either Tiger or Rory wasn't there. So maybe it's more teams, maybe it's getting some, I don't know, live players in there and getting some of the bigger names to lead some of these teams. Because it is a cool concept that you're leading your home club or your home city. So the concept's there. I don't know, maybe they just need more big names.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. I just don't know if it's watchable.
I give them a lot of credit for trying to take a game and make it different. Rosie's talking about how can baseball be different? How can basketball be different? How can hockey be different? Well, here's someone that took golf and tried to make a difference. I give them a lot of credit for that.
I give them credit. I just don't know if it's TV. I don't know if it makes good TV watching people hit a perfect drive every time virtually hitting a screen.
I think we have a lot of golf fans watching the Island here. So this will be a nice little short.
Dan's telling me what to edit. So before we go, there are two things we have to do. Before, Dan, we get to your island mindset, there's another new surprise to the show. So as everyone knows, I love my circus book, right? So I decided we need to figure out who deserves the circus book at the end of every show. We take the worst take out of the three of us, and they are awarded the circus book. I think I know who you two think deserve the circus book today.
You? Rogers' comment?
I believe you two think because of my Aaron Rodgers comment.
Yes.
I was going to say me because during my debate, I had an extra 25 seconds I didn't use, which is pretty funny.
So I will humbly keep the circus book for this week. and give it a big old hug. I still think I'm right, but someone smart has to run the circus. So, Dan, what is your mindset while I read my book?
Well, my mindset today is a quote. Sometimes it's just me talking good vibes. Other days it's just a quote. Today is a quote, and is few things in the world are more powerful than a positive puss. And that's so true. We talk about the island mindset here, and we talk about the attitude of players and sports and all that and teamwork. And it all comes down to having a positive mind. That's so powerful. You can do crazy things with that.
Very true. Positive mind and attitude are very, very important. And I will give credit. I heard that from Jacksepticeye back in 2016. I'm an old fart. Jacksepticeye. He has over 30 million subscribers on YouTube. Read a book.
How do you read a book on YouTube? It's on a screen.
E-reader.
You do deserve the circus book, 100%. You can keep it.
Thank you very much for watching the Streakers Island podcast. Looking for more Streakers Island content? Follow us on our social medias and always get notified when the next episode's coming. If you follow the podcast on whichever platform you're using, Spotify notifies you as soon as the podcast is available. So make sure you're following that and leave us a review. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. If you like lettuce, Dan will send you some lettuce. Make sure you download the Streakers app today. Yeah, Dan, you're basically a rabbit.
I don't like lettuce. What the? Don't eat rabbit food.
Make sure you download the Streakers app today. We're improving the app constantly. Guys, Chazzy doesn't sleep, okay? He literally just stays up working on the app and combs his hair.
Just in parking lots.
As much as he wears his hat, he has luscious hair. He could be easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl.
He's like an Orange William Nylander. He's gorgeous. Man.
But thank you very much for watching the Streakers Island content podcast thing. And we will see you again on Thursday.
Download the app. Bye-bye.